Aloha, Daniel Molina here. Thank you so much for joining in. Today we have a treat all the way from the west side, and her name is Andria Tupola. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. We got
Absolutely.
Lucy over here that's coming in on these podcasts
Here and
here and
there,
there.
here and there.
As you know, is a busy woman, 7 kids, homeschool, and everything else. And also, Andrea, you're very busy as well. Just seeing you on social media, doing all that. And so today we're going to talk about all kinds of things. So, Andrea, I feel like the community knows who you are, right? You ran for governor. Now you're District 1, City
Remember?
Council member, District
hmm
1. And so I feel like people know who you are in this community. They know your upbringing. I did a little homework. Hawaii Kai, born Kahuku, went to Hawaii Kai, raised, and then now you bought your first home in West Side, raising a family, and that kind of got you into politics. Did I say that right? Anything that I missed?
Well, that's not really how I got into politics, but that is all the right background points. So definitely we have touches on the whole island, North Shore, South Side, West Side. So just got love for everyone.
Awesome. What got you into politics? You went to Guatemala.
Venezuela.
Venezuela. And habla español.
See.
Yeah,
Whoop,
yeah.
whoop.
Right. Awesome. Which is awesome, right? And so yeah. So you went over there, saw how a country was ran, and saw how corrupt politics was there. Hawaii is known for the most corrupt politicians in all over the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Hawaii is known to be one of the top. So you going to a country and experiencing what you saw, like I'm not saying I'm sure good politicians out there. I've met them, I've talked to them. We're not saying people are evil, but why do you think Hawaii has that bad rap? And then I think, like you said, I think that inspired you going to be a missionary over there, and then you came back and said, I need to get into politics. So kind of two questions there. Like that was your inspiration, but then what do you feel about Hawaii? Why do people have that dogma of Hawaii?
Rewinding a little bit, in college, I went to BYU and definitely didn't want to go on a mission or anything for my church. I was engaged to be married. I had all these different things I wanted to do. And uh, my father kept encouraging me to go. And you know how it is when your parents tell you to do something, you want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, this is not for me. Why do I have to go? He kept saying, there's people there that you need to meet. And, he had never been there. It's just kind of a phrase people say, right? Is when you're going out doing the work of God, that there are people that you are supposed to meet, contact. So when I went to Venezuela, I just had no idea, just literally no idea what it felt to live in a country like that. The main influencing factor is socialism. At the time, Hugo Chavez was the president and they were practicing, socialism. And a lot of people don't understand what that is, but when you live it in all the aspects, not just in the medical aspect, but, getting free housing, free medical, free education, and staying in the lowest socioeconomic class so that you can benefit from all of that, there was a big incentive to not work. There's a huge incentive to stay in the lowest socioeconomic class, have the government take care of you forever. But indefinitely, a government can't take care of you forever because
Right.
you're basically living on the backs of other people.
Yeah.
So the more that happened, the more the upper class just left, literally exile out of Venezuela. So it's a way that they're trying to even out social classes, but in a way, you disincentivize every class because the upper class is not going to work to pay for other people's stuff. The lower class, you're going to run out of money after a while.
Right.
So it was a pretty intense environment to live in. And I just remember, just the chaos, the lawlessness, definitely the militarization to this day. To this day, they cannot get the president out because he is heavily guarded by the military. So it was normal. It was every day for the people in Venezuela to live a life like that. And when I came back to America, I was like, I hope I never have to live through that again. And in that time, the president that was running for reelection was just touting all these socialist concepts like free school, free this. And it just sounded just like what happened in Venezuela. It's just so fun to talk about free stuff.
Wow.
Who doesn't want free stuff?
Right.
So, when you dole out free stuff, people are like, I'm voting for you. So I remember that year, it was 2012. And I got involved. I campaigned for a presidential candidate. And I thought, in the event that I understand how this could progress, I need to stand up for what I believe, which at the time I did not know what party I was, did not know I was Republican, Democrat. So I campaigned, that particular candidate lost. And I didn't feel like discouraged. I was just like, where's all the good people? Let's
Yeah.
fight for families.
Right.
Right.
I was like, sign me up. People are like, you should run for office. I was like, what is that? Is that the PTA? Are we talking about AYSO? My kids were like 2 and 3. I just couldn't fathom that it would be a good idea to run for office. And I was a music professor. I have a doctorate in music education.
You gonna sing for us today?
I can if you want.
Oh wow, confidence. That's what I like.
In which language?
In any language you want. Italian, German, French, English.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just think that it's one of those things, is like you never think that, you're supposed to do a particular thing. It's foreign to you. But I just kept getting that impression like, you need to do this and you need to do it now. And I was like, why? Why would I need to do it? I don't understand it. I don't have any political connections. I don't know how to fundraise. I live on the west side. I grew up in Hawaii Kai. This is going to go bad.
Right.
But like, it just kept coming to me like, just do it. And so, yeah, I did it on my first time. And I would say that was like very introductory for me. I think, to be very honest, I've been in politics 10 years and I still feel like I'm brand new.
Yeah.
People still say stuff that I'm like, what is that? I didn't get good grades in U.S. history.
Do you think? Right. Do you think they do that intentionally to intimidate good leaders that have good character, that are responsible, that have discipline, but then they intimidate people with some of this jargon and nomenclature of these words to intimidate people from coming in? Do you think that's like part of it?
The first year I was in, I felt it indefinitely. Because I was in leadership my very first year. There were 8 Republicans in the minority caucus, and it was tough. They were saying words I literally have never heard in my life, doing things that, I never watched any government hearings. I didn't grow up in my house talking around the dinner table about politics. I literally knew nothing. We mostly just play piano in our house. So we sing, we play piano. So, it was foreign to me, but nonetheless, I think my passion for serving the people hadn't changed. It's just in a different way than maybe I thought, because I always just did it through church. So I was like, what is this like? But, I was able to acclimate.
Well, it's cool because you said languages.
I'm all kinds of ethnicities, but
Okay.
yeah, my kids went to Hawaiian immersion. So speaking Hawaiian is something that is common. Their dad speaks Tongan. I'm Samoan. My family speaks Samoan.
I think it's awesome because you speak Spanish, you speak Samoan, you speak other languages, but politics is just language. So you're just learning a
Right.
different language. So you're good at learning languages. So I'm sure the learning curve was there, but I think because you're so good and you're so smart and intelligent that you're able to now grasp what do these words mean, investigate, and then your passion gets you to dig deeper so that you can learn how to communicate the political world.
Yeah, and I think with every language, it's a whole culture. When my kids went to Hawaiian immersion, it wasn't about learning the Hawaiian language. It was about living the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you go to it, you actually, as a family, sit and learn. You learn the history of Hawaii, and it's a lifestyle. So it's the same thing, with politics. Is you might know a few vocabulary words here and there, but it's truly like a whole entire culture that, to me, was quite shocking.
Yeah.
In the bad way.
Yeah.
I was like, there's mean people out there. Like, I thought everyone was nice. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
When you're a musician, everyone's pretty nice to you. Like, butterflies, roses, everything nice. Went to the Capitol, not so nice.
It's just the pressures and agendas. Lucy, you learn languages pretty fast too. Maybe you should run for politics and learn that language.
Well, I don't know about politics. Listen, I have plenty of debating going on in my home with 7 kids.
Ooh,
I
that's
just-
debating.
I-
I have so much debating in my home.
Yes, they're at that age where they just want to debate everything.
My goodness.
And so this year, actually, I put them into speech and debate.
That's so
Because I said, you know what, you
good.
guys are already debating, so let's learn how to do this respectfully. Let's honor one another. Like, you're not going to try to run me over. So I'm actually interested. I just want to know a little bit more about, you went to Venezuela and it kind of wasn't really what you wanted to do, but then it birthed something in you.
It sure did.
And so I want to hear about the contrast of like, what was your dream? What was your plan? What were you planning for your future or your passion? And then how does that look different from what you're doing now?
I honestly wake up sometimes and think like, how did my life even turn out like this? because I really just wanted to be a music teacher. When I was in college, I wanted to go to law school because I also have that little bit of debate gene in me. But yeah, my dad was a retired family court judge, and he was like, no, don't do that. Just be a music teacher like your mom. I was like, okay. So I did it. I thought that was it. Like I love choir, I love music, I love conducting. So it's not like I didn't have passion for that. I still have passion for that. But yeah, even on my mission, it's not like I was like, I'm gonna hang up that thing out. I was coming back to Hawaii to do that. I got my master's at University of Hawaii. I was hired as a professor at Leeward Community College, West Oahu. So in my head, that was still the path. I got offered a 10-year position at UH.
Wow.
And I remember in 2014, I told the Dean of Fine Arts that I was going to resign and run for office. And he was like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I was like, why? He's like, there are people that die for this 10-year spot, and you got a 10-year spot and you're going to walk away from it. He's like, this is a cushy job. You could stay at UH forever. In my head, I was like, do I want to stay at UH forever? But, for a lot of people on that educational academic track, like that's the gold standard right there. Yeah. So I told him that I thought that it was the best thing for me. I said, I don't know why, but I think this is the best thing for me to do right now. And it was so tough. I mean, I had been put on leave without pay because they said I couldn't run for office and be a professor at the same time. So for a good 6 months, I had no income. Our family struggled. I tell people that all the time who are like, run for mayor, run for governor again. I'm like, you go into so much debt in politics because you literally have to float yourself, while you have this passion and fight for the people. And I'm not like an independently wealthy person. I ran for governor when I was 37. Like, I didn't have like all these houses stacked that I could make money off of. So it was tough. I mean, there were definitely some breaking points, especially in my family, where my ex-husband was just like, this is too much for us. This is too much for our family. This is too much for you. And I think following that path and having that feeling like it is the right thing to do despite all of the challenges. So yeah, and even after I got into office, I still had this thought in my head like, this is not going to last long. It'll just be like a little stint. I'll get back into music. This will all be over soon. And then boom, I run for governor.
Yeah.
Like, who does that?
Yeah.
And then now it's been 10 years and I'm like still fighting the fight. And I still have like all these desires to like, do all these things for the people. So yeah, I think where my life is today, I just couldn't have imagined 10 years ago that it would feel like this.
You
That's
said
awesome.
something there, and if you don't have to dive into it, but you said ex-husband.
Yeah, so I got divorced in July of this year.
Okay.
So yeah, we had been married for 18 years.
Wow.
So we are co-parenting right now, going through all those bumps and turns. And, the girls are 16 and 17 right now, so they're older, but it's difficult. I think I'm navigating through things that I also didn't think I would have to. And those kind of things are like within the Christian culture, of being a woman and being as powerful, I guess, as I am, where sometimes that's not encouraged, that you be kind of the main person. And then also culturally, in the Polynesian culture, to be a woman and be the kind of leader I am is not always encouraged. So there was definitely some things that, were stressors, but I think it also brought out like kind of what he was really looking for, which was not being married to a politician, and what I was really looking for, which was, somebody to support me through this journey that I feel like I'm on. But, we still support each other.
Yeah.
We still talk every day. We co-parent the kids. We still want the best for the children, but it was a super hard thing for me to do. Just through all of the things that I go through, like with my kids, with the community, is like, I have a hard time, like, just like truly like finding my own happiness or just taking care of myself, because my MO is to take care of everybody else.
Right.
So yeah, I had like some huge aha moments this year.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I know God's good and he's going to help restore you and your heart and comfort your heart as well as your ex-husband and your kids.
Yeah.
And so I definitely hear and see the pain, especially when you give so much to the community and serve the community, and not only serve the community, but then have to come home and then serve the family. And sometimes I feel like in this day and age, wives are underappreciated and sometimes unseen. And I think as husbands, as men, we need to continue to promote and help women, whether it's in leadership, whether it's stay-at-home moms, whatever it is to point out that you are seen, you are appreciated, and thank more. Like I talk to Lucy and I try to thank her more. I try to say, hey, thank you for doing that. Hey, thank you for serving that. Hey, thank you for, right? Because she could be, overlooked, especially when you're dealing with kids that sometimes they just think about themselves.
Right. Well, it's wives and mothers, really. It's just being a mom. That is such a huge job, undertaking in itself. And then you were juggling being mom and being wife and being in politics. Like those are three huge pillars, you know? So it's not like you just had a job somewhere and then you come home. It's like a huge undertaking. I see the stress, and we had friends that were running as well in the last campaigns, and just the amount of stress that they said that was on them to do everything that they needed to do, to go through the campaigns, to be at all of the meetings, to do, it's just, and then, and not just that, but then learning what's going on behind the scenes, just that pressure that's put on you of like, whoa, I didn't realize this is what was really happening. And then your mind goes to, now I really have to step in. I really have to help. I really have to help. And so how are your girls dealing with you in politics and just that whole realm of your line of work? How do they cope?
I think they understand it more now. I would say that when they were younger, it was kind of just like, oh, mom's doing this thing. Let's go with mom. Oh, mom's doing a service project. And like middle school age was like, oh, mom's doing another service project.
Right.
Do we have to go? And then now they're like teenagers, right? So my daughter took AP US Gov this past year. Oh gosh, this girl, she's like, Mom, I think you're making up a lot of stuff at work. I know you don't know these things. I was like, you are right. I got a C in US government. I know that I don't understand everything. She's like, yeah, I think that you could stand to take this course. And I was like, awesome. Yeah, I know. And that was kind of another like kind of rubbing point, with me and their dad was just, he really, really doesn't like politics. He made it clear to me he didn't. When I ran for office, he told me he didn't want me to, and I did it anyways. And I think like it's hard, right, when your spouse takes on a path that not only are you unaware of or maybe unfamiliar with, but maybe you're just unwilling to step into it. And I remember talking to my oldest daughter about it when I separated with him because my kids wanted to know everything. Like, why? Why are we getting the divorce? Tell me all the things, right? And they're old enough to take all the things. So I told him all the things. Right. And one of them is just like him not wanting to be in this political space, in this world. And my daughter was like, Mom, if dad really wanted to learn you, he could have took that AP US Gov course with me. She's like, because I would think you know that much and he doesn't know that much. And maybe we should just all take it together. Because it is a thing, right? Is to like almost like jump into the world of whatever your spouse is doing. But as far as him like really wanting to embrace my job, it wasn't interesting to him. It wasn't, which it is what it is. Like if that's not something that he wanted to embrace or be a part of, like that's his choice. So I feel like that's, for the girls, I think now as grown women, I say that because they are really adults. They drive themselves to school. They do all those things.
Isn't that amazing?
I know. Hallelujah. I get 3 hours of my life back. Yeah. But they have opinions. They ask me about things. My daughter's forever debating me. I always tell her, I don't know if you know what I do for work, but I solve problems on a daily basis. Right. Legit, hard problems. So as I solve this problem for you and your sister, respect the fact that I know how to get to the end. Yeah. Because she's always trying to like kind of like intervene with me, and I'm like, you're not a parent. Right. You're not. Right. And that's the thing, right? Especially as they get older, is that they kind of turn into like, oh, I'm on your level. I'm like, girl, you're not on my level. Right. Okay?
Exactly.
You are not able to talk to me on my level. And if I am leading, you follow. You do not try to lead, because I'm the person that has to pull all these pieces together, monitor them, make sure they get to the end. You don't monitor all these pieces. So like, let me run this ship. I mean, my daughter is like spitting image me. She is just like so aggressive. And I'm like, girl, tame it down. Like, I am the mother.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's tough. You know, I will say that there's moments where the girls are like, oh, all my friends saw you on TV, or oh, my friend said she saw you here, or oh, my friend said you talked at her school, da da da. But I think it's been one of those things, right? Is like, do the girls like all the limelight? I don't know. I think it changed. I think as young
Yeah.
kids they might have. I think now maybe there's still like question mark about what, you know, whether or not they like it.
I want to go back to the marriage real quick if I can. So you said that your husband didn't want you to do it. You said you wanted to do it. And so looking back, like just for advice to other marriages, how would you recommend people move forward? Would you have changed it? Would, you know, did he seek the Lord? Did he say, God, you know, do I need to back her up? Or did he just do it because he wanted to do it? He didn't really seek the Lord on it, because sometimes as men, we maybe don't want to participate in something because we're uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that God doesn't want us to be a part of it, right? And so, do you feel like it was more of a personal thing, or was it a God conviction? And then, what's advice to other marriages that battle with that, where you know the wife is a leader in a community, which through the scriptures you can read about women in leadership, right? And there was a husband or there was someone there to support that, right? And so, any advice to someone who kind of have that disagreement and still go forward?
I think for me, when I had this whole impression, right, first thing I did, pray on it, felt the impression that it's something I needed to do. I told him, hey, this is what I'm, you know, what I'm feeling. And he said, well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. You shouldn't be running for office. Everyone in our house should just be quiet. We shouldn't be putting our names out there. You know, you have my last name. I was like, well, I can just use my maiden name. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a big deal to me. Like, if you think that I'm, because he's like, you know, politicians are not good people. It's like a lot of perception, right, of what's out there. He was afraid of who I would become once I became a politician. Was I going to change? Which those are valid concerns. I mean, people definitely change in office. So, you know, I reassured him that there was no bone in my body that wanted to be a politician. So obviously I wasn't in it for any type of egotistical reason. I was like, I'm just following this path that I feel like I should get on. And I think that if you agree, you should pray about it. And he was like, there's some of these things in the world that you don't pray about, and this is one of them. You just say no, you know? And it was, I was like, ooh, what church do you go to?
You Christian?
I was just like, I mean, why do we not pray about everything?
Right.
Like, let's just
Amen.
pray about everything.
Amen.
And it was tough for him. Like, I'm not gonna downplay the fact that it's a normal response to not want to be involved with politics at all, to be very weary that your family's gonna get dragged into politics. Those are all things that I think I felt like when he said those things to me, I didn't feel concerned, because I was like, yes, by all means, pump the brakes on me if you think something's going awry, but pray on it. So I remember it was Mother's Day, May 2013, and we went to a restaurant, and he was like, I got to talk to you about your little idea. I was like, oh. He's like, I talked to my lieutenants, I talked to my sergeants, I talked to my union. And I was like, and what? He was like, they all said it's a good idea. I was like, so what? Are you going to support me? It doesn't matter. You're always going to do whatever you want. I was like,
They
that's
say it was a good idea.
yeah, everyone did. Everyone he talked to said it's a good idea, which I don't think is the answer he wanted to hear. But, you know, I told him, I was like, so are you going to support me through it? And he was like, you're just going to do whatever you want. I was like, and this I know, but I want to know, are you going to support me through this? And he just, yeah, he didn't really answer. You know, there was like a good amount of time when I first got in that he was adverse to coming to anything. But I thought it was like anything else, you know, like anything else that your spouse does that you're just like, whoa, what is that? So I was like, okay, there's this acclimation period. So when I did get into office and I did do a lot of things, there was multiple times where he sat with me and was like, you are doing so much good for the community. Like, you are inspiring people. You are, you know, so there were moments where I was just like, okay, he's down with it. Like, we're on the right path, we're going the right way. But I mean, I will say that that tipping point in my life when I ran for governor changed my life. I mean, I don't know if I can describe this to anybody unless you've really run for governor. It takes every ounce of every piece of energy inside of you to do something like that. And especially with my kids being the age they were, me being 37, me not really having as much of a financial, you know, foundation. It was tough. Financially, it was tough for us. Time-wise, it was tough. Like, there was definitely a lot of times where I probably forgot I was a mom. You know, after I stopped running for governor, I came home and I was like, you're a mom. Like, get back into it. Like I was so out of it. I think I didn't work for 2 years after I ran for governor, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Everyone had all these high expectations for me. Everyone's like, you're going to get a job. Everyone loved what you did. Never got a job. Didn't get one offer. It was that time period, right? That time of lull that I was like, do I give up? Do I try again? I mean, it's not the end of the world. I got all the way to like the number 2 spot. Like it's not that bad. So there was a lot of, and then COVID, right? So then COVID hit. I ran against David Ige. Yeah, so I was the last person as a Republican nominee for governor against him.
You never got bought in from him to say, you know what? I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I seek counsel. I don't know if it's godly counsel or not. Everyone's saying yes. And I think as a Christian man or Christian period, we have to submit to the ultimate authority, right? When we're our own boss, we're our own authority, then we start making decisions that are not benefiting what God's plan is, right? And it sounds like from what I hear from you is like, it wasn't even your plan. Like God wanted you to do this. Like,
oh my goodness.
Believe me, I want a quiet life too, but if I don't listen to God, I'll get swallowed by a well.
The cushy job at UH.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a 10-year spot and like a 6-figure job? I mean, at that time, we were only getting paid like what? 47 or 53,000 at the ledge.
No.
Oh, it's trash.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Even when you get into office, you're just like, I'm so poor. So like, yeah, like it's that kind of lifestyle that you're like, am I doing the right thing? Everything looks wrong. But then you have this impact, this lifetime impact on the lives of the people in your community. You cannot deny that that is more powerful than any piece of money or any, event or title that you could hold. Like for me, that's what keeps me going every day is like, I am making differences in the lives of so many people. Like, how can I deny that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing? So yeah, I do feel like there was that, divergence of like, hey, are we going to follow this path and fully commit? Because if you don't fully commit to the path the Lord sets out for you, you get hurt. You can't go halfway. Yeah. You got to all in. And I think that was tough because there's always, this something inside of you, not for me, but for him, that was just like, yeah, I want the easy path. I want the easy life. I don't like this limelight. Like I want all these side things. And, ultimately that's really what drove it apart was like, if we don't have the same priorities, then we're not going the same direction. Yeah. And we weren't, we weren't going the same direction. So it was like the hardest thing I had to do because we weren't fighting. It's not like we were throwing stuff at each other and we're like, we're getting divorced. I literally came home this summer, had like 3 weeks to myself. He was with the kids. I was in China. I was doing some other things for my work. And then I came back and those 3 weeks gave me so much clarity. I had like the most clarity I've ever had because I was alone. Oh my gosh, as a mother, you're never alone. Right. I had 3 weeks where I was alone and I just had thoughts after thoughts after thoughts of like, what are you doing? How are you preparing your life for this next step? How do you feel? Are you happy? Like I've never had those thoughts before. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And so I just kept thinking through everything. And so when I came back, like I just said it to him, because there was always this rub between me and him and that resentment between us. I just told him, I said, I'm divorcing you tomorrow. And he was like, what? I was like, hey, this is like the hardest thing I've ever done, but this is the right thing because you will not reach your full potential if you stay married to me. Like who I am makes you feel like less of a person. I can see it. You haven't like sought promotions at work. I know that there's so many times that I overshadow you. I know that it hurts. I think that God was going to be disappointed if I got divorced, but I think he'd be more disappointed if you don't reach your full potential. And we need to do this because it's the right thing. And he agreed with me. We cried the whole night, but he agreed with me. He said, like, I feel like this is the right thing. I said, I think we need to co-parent our kids and our grandkids together, but it's the right thing. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make me stronger to do this because I feel like we're at a point where we're hanging on to something that's decaying, that's hurting our children, that we're developing more and more resentment for each other. And it's not good. So yeah, it was a tough decision because I think for me, and I'm sure for many people I've gone through this, it's just easier to stay. It's just easier to just keep going along to get along. And like things aren't good, but you're just like, oh, it's going to be worse. Like, but I think that is like my advice that I would give to people is like, sometimes those hard decisions are the ones that propel you into where you need to be, right? You're not going to go where you need to go by having that same perspective. And I feel like, God has a lot of plans for my life that are not my own. I might not know all of them, but as I prepare to execute those plans, like I need to be very clear on who I am, how I feel, even the very immediate people around me. How am I treating them? My own husband, my own children, solidify our family. And it feels like I literally broke everything. We all have to go to therapy now. It seems like mom just threw the whole family and broke everything. Like that's what it seems like just happened. But at the end of the day, like I do think that that is what is going to be the best for us. My oldest daughter understood. My younger daughter is still like really trying to cope with everything that happened. But I told the kids, I was like, it's going to be better for all of us. Like, I know it's so painful right now, but I do think that if I stayed in a relationship like that, like what kind of example would I be for my daughters? To just stay in something that I was unhappy with, that continuously was like paining me. So like my oldest daughter did tell me that. She was like, thank you. Thank you for showing me what I don't want in my marriage. I was like, you don't want to live like this. So like when you get married, like you want to be, in a supportive relationship. You want to be, in a place that whoever is with you just 1,000% supports what you're doing. So at the end of the day, I hope that that example is the example that God wanted me to leave for my children.
I can hear the Bible thumpers and the Christians now. Oh, I can't believe you got divorced. You failed. You all that, and I'm going to put that to stop, right? Because no one's in your shoes, right? And God's ways is not our ways, right? And so, I just want to say, whatever situation you're in, I'm just going to support the future of how it goes. For me, I feel like um, the church, if you're transparent, open to church, if the church is doing their job, they should have saw that in y'all and help you guys get you on the same page. I think like helping him see the vision that God has for you. When you have all these people saying, yeah, you're on God's plan, this is what you need to do. And you have one side not doing it. Oh, he's accountable not only to God, but he's also accountable to the community, right? There's elders, there's people. I do home church, but I'm still accountable to who's I allowed to speak into my life, and I share with them. Because if I don't have accountability and I'm gonna have people telling me no and telling me what you're doing is wrong, then I'll become a loose end. I'll become a whatever, right? And so I hate that for you, but I also understand. I'm not in your shoes. I understand the pain and the hurt, and I'm sure you're covering him a lot, on certain things that he's done or whatever, done or not done. And so thank you for respecting and honoring him. I think you're doing a really good job. But no one knows that, and nor is it your job to tell his business. So whoever's listening to this, who's trying to cast stones, like drop those stones, look at your own life, look at the own plank, and move on, right? But what we're hoping is to be inspired and learn from you, right? I'm learning because I want to get into politics eventually. I'm learning from this. I remember going to some leadership thing that you were speaking at, and Diamond was there, and Elijah was there, and I'm like, bruh, like politics will jack up your marriage if you're not careful, right? It'll
Family,
destroy your family, your friends,
your
everything.
soul, everything.
Your
Like,
soul.
oh my gosh. I'm not even kidding. Like, this thing can go into the depths of you. I mean, and I think just to tap on what you said about the elders, like, I went and told my parents, like, legit only recently. I think I was divorced for almost 3 or 4 months before I told anybody, just because I don't like sharing intimate details of my life. But also, I just didn't want people to like feel sorry for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I'm just like, I can do this. I'm going to be fine. But yeah, I told my dad, and my dad was just like, "Oh, do you want a blessing?" And I was like, "No." And he was kind of shocked, and he was like, "Are you mad at God?" I was like, "No, I'm not mad at God." He's like, "Well, what are you feeling?" I was like, honestly, sometimes the leaders of our church, like I am just to your point. I said, I don't know how many times I had shared how much was going on and how much pain. And I didn't feel like anybody was willing to like hold that accountability, you know? It was always just like, oh, but, you know, we need you to play piano. We need you to teach the lessons. We need you to do all these things. So like, you know, just let him move back in and you guys are a power couple. And I'm like, no, like we needed real stuff. Like whether it was alcoholic counseling or whatever we really needed, like see it for what it is. Like don't just placate it and be like, oh, you guys are going to be fine. You just need to pray more often. You should just read your scriptures. I'm like, no, this is for real. Like our family has all these stress points. And like, I did go to counseling. We went to all those things. And so, yeah, my dad was just like, Andrea, I know this is not gonna, you know, make you feel better, but just on behalf of the leaders of any and all of our churches, I'm sorry. I was like, it's okay, Dad. It's not like any one of them meant to hurt me. It's just hard to like go through it and then think through all the people that could have took that extra time to just really say, hey, there's something real going on here. This is not fake. And said, you know what, Andrea, you're really hurting. Like no one thinks that I really hurt. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like maybe I just come off in a certain way where I'm always depicting that I'm strong, but it was tough. I've been so faithful my whole entire life, devoted to our church, constantly playing piano, teaching lessons, leading organizations. Like I need a break. I need a break. I need people to take care of me for a little bit. It was so hard. It was just so hard to just be that person that gives and gives. And in a moment where I needed people to give to me, I was like, where is anybody? You know, so it was just like, I needed to go through so much of that. I needed to literally drop everything. I've never done that before. I let every ball drop on the ground. And even my kids were like, Mom, we still need you to be a mom. I was like, I'm trying so hard. I just need to drop everything on the ground real quick and just collect myself and see if I can keep going. Like, and I think like that is the advice I have for other people too. If you need to take a break from church, trust me.
Amen.
Sundays were the most stressful days for me because I was in charge of everything. Was I mindful of myself? Did I try to fill my own cup on Sundays, or was I so busy teaching a lesson, you know, playing the piano, directing the music, going to choir practice? Like, did I take the time to really replenish my soul? I don't know. I'm just like Little Miss, I do everything for everyone. I really had to stop and think like, Andrea, what are you doing? Like, just because you're busy at church doesn't mean that you're really like spiritually sound.
I'm so sorry. And no one would know that, right? Nobody would know that about your life, because what you allow people to see is the strong part of you. And you're strong. You carry a lot of influence and grace and just power and strength. And so no one would think anything's going wrong in your life, because you also have this great smile. Just in all of the posts that I've seen, or when you're out speaking, it's just this smile to connect with the people, you know, so nobody would ever know. I am so sorry that it went that way. And that hurts, because it's not the only story that we've heard where people are reaching out to the church, to people who are supposed to walk alongside of us and help us in our life, and their business as usual. And they care more about the business of church rather than the people of God. And that hurts. Did you have any other community besides going to church on Sundays? Like, did you have any like at home, I know people call them all different things, like life groups or just home groups, or things where you had community of people that could really speak into you at that time?
You know, I do have like a few good friends that helped me through it. My one best friend, she's been divorced twice. She's in her third relationship. We're the same age. And so she helped me. But yeah, I think I did a really good job of insulating myself over the years, where it's almost like I excluded myself from really having support, because I should have been accepting more support when I probably was just like, oh, there's other people that need it. It's okay. Don't come visit me. I'm good. Visit whoever else, whatever. So
I don't know. I think to some degree, I kind of set myself up for this. Even like sometimes I think about me being a mom and I feel like I set the bar way too high. And I'm just like, why was I so awesome? Because now I suck. And now the kids are like, where is the cooked food? Where is this? I'm like, I am not cooking anymore. You are 16. You are 17.
Right.
And so it's like, it's hard because I think I have set this standard of like how I live, how I conduct, how I like hold myself that, yeah, even some people after they found out I got divorced were like, oh my gosh, can I say this? But I feel like this makes you so much more real. I was like, oh, stop
You're
it.
human. You're not
Oh
Wonder
my
Woman.
gosh. I
You
know.
make mistakes. You
I
fail,
know,
You fall.
I know.
It's okay. But yeah, it's I can totally relate with that too. Of just with being a mom and setting that bar really high, or even like, man, when they were little, I used to do this, and then now I'm tired. I cannot.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed. There's just too much. You guys are gonna have to just figure it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, I think about just the response from the church and whatever church you're from, right? I think there's a lot of churches in the world of church kingdom that are getting exposed, pastors getting exposed, marriages getting exposed. And I think in this case, I think leadership got exposed in your story of lack of seeing your marriage, seeing where you're at, and giving you the right support that you need as a member of a congregation. There should have been an elder, a deacon, or somebody assigned to say, hey, I'm seeing something, the Holy Spirit led to me, or I feel an impression, you need help. What can we do to serve your marriage? Right?
Yeah.
Because to segue into really what I hope is like the power of a family, right? And we could talk about homelessness, we could talk about crime, we could talk about sustainability, we could talk about sustainability, we could talk about all these issues that communities have. But if we don't focus on the family and make sure that the family is healthy and thriving, then the community won't prosper. It's not even it's not my opinion. This is stats. When they study culture after culture, whether you believe in Jesus or not, if the family dies, the community dies. It's just period. Like, come against me, whatever, that's period. And so I'm sorry and I'm frustrated. And for me, the reason why I do home church, not that I'm against corporate church and big, go on Sunday, it's because at home church, I can sit across from you and know what's going on in your marriage, knowing what's going on in your life, single, married, whatever, doesn't matter. And then help you in that, because we can't hide. Hey, how you doing? Awesome. Thank you for serving. Thank you for setting up the chairs. Thank you for playing the piano. Thanks so much. See you next Sunday. Right. And the questions are not asked. Hey, how's marriage doing? Oh, fine. No. Because they're really connected with the Holy Spirit, they connect with God, they can sense things. That's part of like a Christian, is being able to discern and know and ask those uncomfortable questions to really get it out, because you are a strong woman. You probably don't like to let people see you bleed, right? And so you're like, I'm cut, but I'm okay. I'm still gonna mission forward, which is a good thing. But then sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable and say, actually, I do need help in this area. And so when we do home church and we do the community that we have, we're able to talk about those questions. We're dealing with really life issues that everyone deals with. But it's hard to do that on Sunday, where we hear a monologue, we sing some worship songs, and then go home.
Yep.
Right? And so
Everyone's sitting shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
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 That's just
I've just
me.
had so much
You're not face to
like,
face.
thoughts about all of that, since everything's happened. I cannot describe how staunch of a Christian I am. Like I just I don't know, for the first time question everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And not my relationship with God, or not that he exists, none of that, but like everything about like, well, why is this like this?
Right.
Or why do we have to go on Sundays? Not that I don't want to, but what if I was getting nothing out of it? Like literally, I'm not saying that, if you don't go on Sunday, you're a bad or good person, but I would say some people believe that.
Yeah.
Is that a true belief?
Or
though?
if you go on Sunday, you're
Right.
wrong, because really on Saturdays is a Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's all kinds of different.
So like, because I stay home, or maybe for me, the Sabbath was to replenish myself. And I would say for a good, I don't know, I'm 43 right now, for a good bulk of my life, what if I didn't feel replenished on Sunday? Am I allowed to say that? Because I've never said that out loud. But I would say for the whole entire time that I've been like an adult with my children, I've only been in leadership positions in the church. Only.
And no one fed you.
Well, I mean, we start meetings at 7 a.m. I literally asked
Wow.
one time, I was like, shouldn't I be with my kids making breakfast on Sunday? Like, why am I here at a meeting? What do you say to yourself when you're at church at 7 a.m.? Your kids come separately from you. And if they even come, because sometimes they sleep and I have to call and be like, why is nobody coming? And then what if I stay after for meetings? What if I take a break and then I have another meeting at 4? Like, what if I actually said, like, hey, you know what? I don't think this is actually like what I should be doing on the Sabbath. I don't know. I feel like there was a moment where maybe I didn't ask the questions I should have been asking. Like, is this true worship? Is this true like rest that I'm getting? Because even my therapist says that. She's like, are you really resting? I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
What is really resting?
Right.
There's this book called Sacred Rest that she gave me to read. But like, yeah, that's the thing is like asking yourself hard questions, not to doubt people, not to destroy things, but just to temperature check yourself.
Right.
Like, am I really feeling it? Did what happened today on Sunday really feed my soul? It didn't. And if it doesn't do it over and over and over again, then what do you do to pivot? Or do you just stay in it?
Yeah.
You just robotically stay in it? Like, because you're the piano player. That's me.
Yeah.
So you got to show up at the funeral. You got to play. That's you. And I'm not saying I don't like playing the piano, but to some degree, did I feel like I was like a little bit used as somebody with talents? I sure did.
You're just asking for their talent without actually looking into the person. And then you're just taking rather than it being a mutual relationship of pouring in. And then out of your heart, you pour out. You know, it's not a relationship within the Christian community. Like I said earlier, it's business. This is business as usual. And show must go on and the business has to run, you know? And it's unfortunate because that's not God's heart.
Yeah.
And you read the scriptures, you read the word, and that's not his heart. His heart is for the people. His heart is to slow down. His heart is to let's take time to talk about these things, to cast your cares upon him and sit in his presence and be comforted by other people and to have wisdom poured in by other people and encouragement. And we can't do that, like Danny said, on a Sunday where we're sitting shoulder to shoulder and we're all looking at one person speaking and then we sing our songs and we go home. It's like we need this. We need the face to face where we can see eye to eye and we can actually truly look into a person and say, I see you and I want to help you. What's going on? You know?
Which is hard to do in Western. There's a guy named Francis Chan. I don't know if you heard of Francis Chan. Francis Chan said if you were to delete everything you ever learned about Christian, church, whatever, and then you go to an island, and then you read the Bible for the first time, you come back to America, and then you look at the church, and then the question is, does what you see reflect what you just read about? And the answer to that question is going to be a no.
Probably no.
Right. And I think for you, when I think about what Lucy just said, Jesus taught community. He did life. He broke bread. He poured out his life, discipling and teaching and serving to the point where he washed their feet to the 12. Like that's what we're supposed to do. And I feel like what's happening is on Sundays is that we're serving the organization, we're serving the brand, we're serving whatever, which, okay, cool, they can help people. I'm not saying there's not fruit from that, but then the people serving ends up empty-handed, right? And I think for you, the questions that you ask, question everything. That's how I got to where I'm at, because I was doing business as usual. It was not feeding me. I started actually reading the word and actually exegesis the word and actually like figure out like what's the history all the way even back to Constantine and 353 AD, like when the actual church happened in the temple back there. Like that's how far back I went to understand how did we get here from the teachings of Jesus to where we are in Western society, where your story is many. We're counseling couples right now that are just having a hard time in leadership, outside of the leadership, that go to church every Sunday, serve, teaches, work, whatever, and dealing with things in marriage that's difficult. And so I feel like if leaders and pastors are listening to this podcast, we need to stop doing what we're doing. There is like you can go to YouTube right now and live stream any message you want. There's so much content. Millions. There's millions of smart people teaching the Bible, giving you a message to the point where you don't have to go to church anymore to listen to another person talking to you.
Right.
Right. And so let's use Sunday to build community, not listen to another message that we can get literally right now at our fingertips all day long. Every morning, I read the Bible through twice in my life. Now I'm listening to it. So every morning I hit play and I get ready and I listen to the Bible, right? Back then, the way you listen to the Bible is you had to go to the synagogue and have the rabbi read it to you once a week, right? And that's how you got it. Where now we have it everywhere. But yet we have the biggest Christian footprint in Western society and really the world, the biggest Christian footprint in the world, and very little influence. Very little influence. So what are we doing to change that? And I think for you, let this be like, man, my heart breaks. I want to get to know you. I want to support you. I want to help, because this is what Lucy and I, our passion is, to help restore the family. And churches, do your part in doing that. If all you're worrying about is what happens on Sunday and making sure the music's good, the message's good, the food's good after, or whatever, if you're just meeting just to have a meeting and there's no purpose, there's no intentionality of like focus on what people are actually doing. When you read about Paul's writing to the church of Corinth, the church of Ephesus, the church of Philippi, the message were all different based off of what they were dealing with.
Exactly.
It was not, let's learn about John. We really need to be learning about Matthew because this is what's going on right now.
Yeah. Or like today, the topic is love one another. Like, where do we get that though? Like, is someone in this, congregation going through like, I want the application of it. When I served my mission in Venezuela, the biggest thing that I learned was just like the love that I developed for people through service. Yeah. And to me, that felt real. I really felt it when I'm inviting people to do things that are hard, to trust in God, and then their family is blessed. And then I'm like, I don't know, cleaning their yard or whatever I'm doing. Like, to me, that felt like true service, like what God would want us to do. And so like when I got this job or whatever this is, serving the community, to me it felt so like right.
That's more church than going on Sunday.
Yes, because I felt like I knew what that was. So when people are like, oh, you never ran for office before, I was like, no, but I've like knocked doors and met people. Like, that's what I did on my mission. So I think that was my main thing, is like, it wasn't different than what I had done before. Talking to people, loving people, helping people. Like, that's basic.
Wait, I read about that. Oh, Jesus said,
yeah,
right.
If you feed the homeless, you fed me. If you clothe the homeless, you have done that to me.
Well, and that's where I had a hard time reconciling in my head about church and what I do, because I feel like what I do is so community based that I'm confused when I invite some people from my church, or I invite my church to participate, and there's kind of like a little pushback of like, oh no, we just have to do it at our chapel. I'm like, yeah, but people who need this aren't here at this place. We got to go, and so I get it. I'm not in charge. I'm not going to call the shots. But at the end of the day, I'm like, why wouldn't we be where the hurt is or the pain is? Or like, if I'm doing homeless outreach, how come you guys don't come and show up? There was a few people that would come and like, kind of see what I was doing to help them. But like, this is ongoing. This is not going to go away. Like, these are people who are in the depths of need. Like, I would argue that maybe the three main stories, like especially the woman with the issue of blood, maybe the Good Samaritan, all that, I would argue that they were probably homeless. Like, so doing homeless outreach should probably bring us to the place we need to be to really understand who he is and what he wants us to do. So those are the places where we will really develop a testimony, not in the building. Like, that's what I'm saying, is like, when people question like, oh, you haven't been to church, like, does that equal my belief in God? Does that equal me building my testimony? Because I can tell you, I know what it feels like. It feels like I'm actually becoming who Jesus wants me to be.
Amen.
I don't need to be the governor. I need to become the person that people want to be governor. I need to become the person that people trust and want them to be served by. Like, it's not going to come from a vote. So I really feel like that's where I'm trying to like piece all these things together, because I think in life, you really feel when you know what is right. And sometimes these type of behaviors that are very routine, you don't question it when you should.
Yeah.
You should stop yourself and question it. Hey, is this bringing life to my family? Is this bringing peace to my home? Is this bringing happiness to my soul? Ask yourself those questions. Be intentional about it, and then make a change.
Yeah.
Because
if it's not.
Yeah, because
If
you
you're
shouldn't be going on.
trying to lose
right.
weight, let's say you're $120 and you're trying to get 105 pounds and you've been doing this for 10 years and you're still 120, it's time to change.
Right?
Right.
If your efforts aren't bringing results, then change needs to happen.
Right.
I think for you, there's a sense of revival in your soul. I see.
Yeah.
Obviously mourn because it sucks what you're going through, right? And if there's reconciliation with your marriage in the future, who knows? That's for you to search the Lord and your ex-husband to search the Lord. Although, of course, Lucy and I would always say, I hope that happens, right? But if it doesn't, it's okay. There's a plan for him and a plan for you. But I think for you, there's a revival, I think, in your soul. The marriage seemed dead. The marriage seemed like it was going nowhere and you needed to break free from it. And now there's this revival. Like God cannot, in order to have revival, someone must die. You have to revive. And you've almost like submitted to the cares of man, to the cares of what people thought about. Like you said, Lord, like, I don't know if this is the right decision. I don't care. I just know right now this sucks and something needs to change. I've been doing this for 10 years and it's not working. And so please have grace and mercy upon me. I'm going to do this and I care less what people think about me. And so you allow something to die. Now you're pushing it to God and say, you revive it because I can't. I tried and I can't, right? Which is exciting, but yet it's still pain in the process, like you were saying. And again, the message is to the church, like, let this story, like you're living it today. Like you're not this Wonder Woman perfect being. Like we all have issues. We had marital issues, in the first 4 years of our marriage. We've been married for 24 years, 7 kids. People look at our marriage, oh, your life is so perfect. And that's it's easier. Bro, like
Wasn't always.
We had issues, right? And we had to go through them. When you're reaching out, when someone's reaching out and they're serving, they're going to get burnt out and they're going to be full used, like prostituting the gifts and talent. The gifts and talents come from the Lord. Like you didn't have no choice to be a great musician. You developed the skill sets. You steward it well, but the gifting came from God. Like the part that we should be wanting is your intimacy with God, your time with God. Like, tell me more about that. Like, how do you use that to serve other young ladies who are in leadership? How do you support them? And I think you do have like a ministry with that, right?
Well, I do a Young Women's Prom event every year. So I give out free prom dresses. We address domestic violence. And I do invite a lot of churches to go to that. But for me, I feel like those are the kind of things that I feel like God would have me do.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing these events where does everyone need a prom dress? Yes. Does everyone have issues that they might want to talk about their self-worth, about their feelings or like the way that people talk? Yes. These are things that are normal in everyday households. Like I think we need to get to that level where it's not always preachy. It's not always like, well, we got to hit this scripture. Like you might need to, but you might not need to because it's the feeling people have when they know that you deeply care for who they are.
Yeah, amen. And that's what Jesus did. What did he do? He didn't go in there and start preaching at everybody. When he went to the women with the blood, when he went to the centurion, when he went to, like, he first met their needs. Then came the truth. Then came the word, right? And so I feel like what we've become as a corporate church is come to us, we're going to preach at you, and hopefully you find Jesus. Versus going to find what the needs are in the community, go solve those problems, go be the light, and then share the gospel, right? And I wish we had 2 more hours, but we're coming to a close with this podcast. And all I want from this, I just want to be your friend.
Yeah.
I want to be the body of Christ of what you should have had to you as a friend and as a brother in Christ to say, I'm here to serve. How can I help you? If I get nothing from it, if she gets nothing from it. It's sad that in the church, and there's hurt people, I get not churches are perfect, I get it. But it's sad that I'm seeing marriages dying, people dying in the body of the Christ when we should be the most thriving community everywhere. It's time to do things different. as the body. And this message that I hear, and I was going to talk about all kinds of
We
different
had so
things.
many
Oh
statistics
my
and
gosh.
percentages and
But I said,
questions.
God wants something different, right? And I think this needs to be heard because people of leadership, male, female, doesn't matter, mother, father, doesn't matter, need support. When we say we're doing okay, don't take that as an answer. No, you're a human being, I know, right? Like, press.
Or
No,
just do it. You know what I
Yeah.
hate is when someone texts and they're like, let me know if you need any help. Who does that?
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yeah.
you know someone needs help, just show up and do it.
yeah. Hey, next Wednesday, we're bringing dinner for you. Don't ask, can I bring you dinner?
Yeah, exactly.
Just, hey, we're going to bring dinner for you next Wednesday. Oh, Wednesday, I can work. Okay, Tuesday, we got it.
Yeah.
Like, that's like doing it.
Right. That's when you know people care.
Yeah.
One of the leaders in the church picks up my daughter and she's like, I'm getting your daughter tomorrow. I was like, where is she going? Oh, she's doing this. I was like, does she want to go? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if my daughter wants to go, then great. If you're going to be there and facilitate it, awesome. Like, and that's the part that hurts me the most is because I was that person.
Yeah.
I was that person that like always like showed up and picked up people and took them where they needed to go. And so I think like inside of me, I'm just like trying to like heal. And I think that's where I had to kind of take that little space is like, I definitely feel like I'm not healing and I need to heal away from where everything was happening and then see if I can come back to it.
The way I think about this podcast and how it went, it was so inspiring for me, but yet very revealing and pain. And this is not an accusation or throwing stones at the church. So I hope no one heard that. What I do think is that we need to do something different. And I think we need to ask those questions. And I think the congregation need to ask those questions to leadership. Why this? Why that? You know, how come this is not happening? How come there's all these things? Because if you don't focus on the family and get families healthy and support, then the community is not going to thrive, right? It's going to be harder, I would just say. It's just harder. Not that it's impossible. It's going to be harder, right? And so my hope is that people get inspired to ask those questions in the local church to, support. Because I'll say you this, Andrea, like as a leader myself, I've been offered to be a pastor. I've been offered to do all the kinds of things. And I just chose the entrepreneur route, successful business, whatever, give it to God. I'm just a stewarding the gift that he's given me, and I don't want to do that because I know what that road looks like. And for me as leaders, it's a lonely road. You are walking a path of a lonely road. And Jesus said it, the path is narrow, only few will find it. Like as leaders, it's a lonely road because people see us as these Wonder Woman, Superman, whatever, and we have no problems. We could deal with it. And they just grab, but no one's really pouring into your bucket, right? And so I think what is important for you as you continue this walk is to find that person that pours into your bucket, right? And it, just one. If you get two, you're lucky. Just one that will pour in your bucket, that will just continue, that never really wants something from you, always pouring into you, because that's how you're going to continue to grow and be what God's calling you to be, whether it's a governor sometime, whatever it is, the path. Like you need somebody to do that, and you need community. So that's number one. Number two, then you need community where you're not just showing up and it's just business as usual and there's just no growth, right? Like that has to change. And I'm glad you're asking those questions. You're welcome to join our community. I mean, West Side Drive to Kailua is a little far, but
we can come to you.
yeah, we'll come to you.
We'll
Right?
come to you sometime.
And so I think that's what Jesus taught. That's what was in the New Testament, Acts 4 and Acts 3. It says that they sold everything and they shared what was needed and they lacked in nothing. Lacked in nothing. But yet I see so much lacked in the body, not even in the world, and outside the church. There's lack even in. But then Jesus said, hey, here's the model, but yet we're not representing the model. So I have compassion and is empathize in the sense that as a leadership, you do feel lonely. My wife and I feel so lonely. She should be leading women. She should be talking to many women. Women come to her asking, hey, how do I homeschool? How do I parent? She is fierce. But right now she's focusing on the seven little ones, right? That's her path. And she could have took that. But her path right now is to focus right here. And that's just a different path. We all have a part. One's not better than the other. It's not a hierarchy. It's just the body of Christ. Some is a hand, some is an arm. I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. Find community that's going to support and feed you, right? And if you need anything from me, anything from Lucy, I mean, I'm your friend, right? Privately, openly, however it is, you have my support as a brother in Christ, right? And your story like just really touched me, and I wish we had a part two. I want to have you again because you have so much passion. I see it. I see the love. Like it's like you have no agenda other than helping people, which is the very epitome of what Jesus did. What more can you have? Better love is this, that one would lay down his life for another. That's the best form of love. And you're saying, I'm laying everything, my ambitions, my tenure thing with UH, all the best things. I'm saying I'm going to serve the community. That's laying your life down. So keep doing that. And I'm sorry that the experience you had when you most needed it was not there. But now you found Lucy is awesome. Be friends with her. Have coffee with her. Like, please. Anything else you want to say as we close?
I do want to say that, despite everything, I do have a lot of love for my ex-husband. There was a lot that helped me to grow. He helped me grow. I wouldn't say that any of the 18 years was lost. I would say that it was a huge growing experience for him, for me, my kids. Of course, I love my kids a lot. And I think that, for those people that might be struggling with that, like whether or not a decision will help or hurt your kids, at the end of the day, you really do have to take care of yourself first. I mean, I'm just saying that's why they tell you put your mask on, then other people's. Like if I'm not taking care of myself and I don't feel like healed and I'm not good, like I can't be good for my children. So I had to make that decision so that I could be good for them. I feel like it was the right thing. I love my kids, and I do think that hard things are not bad. Right. I think they're good. Mm-hmm. I think that embracing what I'm going through is necessary. I think growth is pain, and we should want it and embrace it because it'll help us to be who we need to be. So I thank you guys for letting me share. I didn't think I was going to share all of this, but at the same time, if it's the message that needed to be heard, then that's what needed to be said. I do feel like every time I stand up and talk, even if I'm at work, even if I'm acting as a city council member, that I always need to be speaking the words that God would have me say. It's always not my message. I usually stand up and I have like this whole thing written out, and usually it's some of those pieces, but it's always what needs to be said. So I hope that I can continue to do that and be as clear-minded as possible while I do that, so that I can be the leader that Hawaii needs me to become.
You are that, and you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time coming all the way over here, and spending time here. And again, I think I met you once or twice. And you're like, I'll get on your podcast and spend time with my wife and I. Thank you so much. And I hope that we could become friends and have a part two with us in your life in some capacity to support. And so we love you. We thank you for everything you're doing in the community. We see that. Thank you so much for watching. This has been incredible. I think inspired me. I hope it inspired you. It's just awesome to just, you can have an agenda of what you want to talk about, and God changes it sometimes to something else. And I think this was the best thing for right now. And knowing that, Andrea is a human being, just like you. You're a human being. We all have issues. We all have problems. And we need a community to come together so that we can do it together and not carry that burden, because that burden will crush you if you try to do it by yourself. I'm telling you, if it wasn't from community, my brothers and sisters in Christ, to help me in my marriage, Lucy and I would not be here with our kids. I mean, this was before kids. Like, our kids wouldn't even be here because of the first 4 years of our marriage. And that's for another podcast. I'm writing a book about it. Stay tuned. But I'm telling you guys, do community. It is so important. And if you don't find community that's feeding you, that's helping you, that's in your business, you got to find the people that are in your business, not who don't gossip, right? Trust it, but find the people that's in your business so they can help you. And if that community is not doing it, then you got to bounce around, because Jesus is a perfect model. Find what, read about him, follow him, look at the Acts Church, and that will help you find the right community. Aloha. Thank you for watching this. Share this content. Someone needs to hear this story. Love you guys. See you in the next podcast. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it.